Welcome into another edition of That's Deep. I'm Tommy Z. Joined as always by Johnny Bravo. We are breaking down UFC 322. We are making our way to the end of the year. I'm very happy to get this card going, man. Last week was absolutely brutal. Might have been the worst card of the year for me from a betting perspective. Pretty rough card altogether, but this UFC 322 card, we got great fights, a lot of live dogs, and it's a pretty stacked one. How you feeling coming into this one?
Feeling good. Coming off last week wasn't the greatest. I think I probably dropped like 2 units, so it wasn't the worst, wasn't the best. So yeah, this card is pretty much stacked from top to bottom. I've been excited for this one for a while now. So yeah, this one's going to be real good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what you have to say too, because I know we've been talking, on the live shows and stuff. Kind of, you've been giving some of your thoughts on these fights, but man, I feel like there's a lot of live dogs. So I'm hoping we're on the
I
same
feel
side.
the same way that a lot of dogs are barking on this card, but usually a pay-per-view card, it's all chalk, which is something that I don't really feel comfortable about, liking so many dogs. But
yeah.
A lot of close fights. So.
Yeah, I think it's warranted. This time. We do see a lot of chalk on these pay-per-view cards, but yeah, I mean, sometimes it's obvious, and this one doesn't feel obvious with the favorites. So, but hopefully we're on the same side on a lot of them. All of them would be nice, but we'll jump right into it here. We got a good one right off the bat. First fight is in the lightweight division. We got Vyacheslav Borishev taking on Matthias Camillo. Borishev, he's a bit of an up and down guy. He can be grappled, but he's got really good striking. Camillo, he looks the part. He looks to be pretty good. Debut against Gabe Green did not go well. Camillo is the favorite in this one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm a big Slava Claus guy, but he's kind of been on a tough run. He's fought, the Terrence McKinney fight pretty much just got ran through. Nolan was able to, outstrike him. He had a good performance against Lontop, and then, the Sadikov fight was, there was a 10-8 in there. He showed a lot of heart in that fight. He took a lot of damage in that fight. This guy is hard to knock out. The way to finish him is taking him down, and even the subs, even Chase Hooper, when he had him down, he was defending well on the ground. He can be taken down pretty easily, but he's usually able to pop right back up, which is something you like to see. But we know his striking is his striking and his chin is pretty good. It's just a big hole in the grappling game that can be easily taken down. And Camillo, I was on him in the fight against Gabe Green. I was on him inside the distance in that fight, and he did not look. He looked okay, and then he had Gabe Green in a deep triangle, and then when he didn't get that, he kind of just gassed and quit, which is something you don't like to see because you kind of question the heart, and if the going gets tough, can he really pull through? I don't know. On the feet, I think, Camilo has some decent striking on the feet, some okay power, but he has that grappling he can go to. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold Slava down, and if Slava's able to get back up and make him work. How is that cardio going to look? Was it just that one fight that, his debut where he kind of maybe just like cardio dumped, adrenaline dumped in that fight when he didn't get the finish? I don't know. This is kind of a tough one. I expect violence here. I expect someone to get finished. I'll probably be on the unders here. Whether it's probably Camilo getting a sub or Slava, able to put the pressure on him and kind of break him late is kind of how I see it. I don't really feel comfortable betting like a money line on either one of these guys, but I would probably take like a Camilo sub 1-2, and then if you see Slava with the pulse and you can get a decent live angle, I think that if you see Slava having success in the fight and able to return back to his feet and keep it on the feet, I think he could be a live dog. So Probably Camilo sub early, and maybe look to live bet Slava if he's hanging around.
Yeah, signed in the chat. He said submission is plus 420. Camilo, it's not a bad way to go into it. And then I'm pretty much with you. I mean, I feel like Slava is live, and I do kind of, I kind of want to wait, see how that first round goes. If he gets taken down, maybe you could get a better price, if he shows that he's going to be able to scramble, which he, for the most part, has shown that ability in his UFC career. Obviously, we've seen him taken down a million times, but, like you said, he does defend the chokes pretty well. He does scramble pretty well, gets back to his feet. So, yeah, I think Slava's live in this one. I do like the sub look to come into it with Camillo. Plus 420, not a bad way to start the card. And then, you could have a live ticket with Slava, and, whatever happens. But, yeah, pretty much the same read I've got. The Camillo, if he gets the grappling going and the cardio holds up, he probably gets it done. Slava, he has taken a lot of damage, so you gotta worry about that. But, the guy's tough. He's shown to be tough. Hasn't really shown, that he's an easy out. So I think he's going to be in this one right to the end as well. All right, moving right along. We've got really the one crazy odds fight on the card. We've got Basinger Susakayev taking on Eric Makhaniko. Susakayev is a massive favorite. I think he's up over minus 1,000 right now. Yeah. Last I saw. But he was a huge favorite in his last fight, and he got the job done, got the submission. But man, he showed like he was a little over cocky in that one, and got kind of got rocked, and it got kind of dicey there in his debut. But still, I mean, Makhaniko is not the greatest. But again, I mean, huge number here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Susakayev coming in with all the hype, being Hamzat's training partner, and Hamzat saying that he's better than him, and a lot of hype coming onto this guy, and he performed in his Contender Series fight. He looked good. I mean, the guy, I don't think Taha, I don't think he was very good. But yeah, I mean, he got the job done, ran right through him, and he looked amazing. And then, he came in on his his debut. He debuted like the same week on that Saturday, and took Eric Nolan on short notice, and it wasn't the greatest of looks. He got rocked and touched, and I don't know where this guy's ceiling is or how far he can actually go, but he got rocked, he got hurt in that fight, and he kind of like gassed out, and he got the takedown and was able to sub him, but it wasn't the greatest performance coming. We were expecting a lot more from him in his debut, but it was short notice the same week, but wasn't the greatest look. He's a good striker, got good power in his hands, and he's pretty well rounded. The grappling's there, submission game. He's a solid fighter. I just don't know how his ceiling and how far he can go. But Makhaniko is just I don't know what to say about this guy. This guy, I mean, he barely throws punches in his fight. I don't know how he beat Cody Brundage. I mean, I guess it was just Cody Brundage being Cody Brundage. I mean, I think he only landed like 31 strikes in that fight. And then the Ikram fight, I mean, he barely even threw a punch. I don't even think he threw a punch in that fight. I mean, he's just so low volume. He doesn't want to engage. He doesn't look to engage. It's a tough read. I mean, he's going to probably just be standing there trying to skirt on the outside and maybe try to extend it and maybe extend the fight, and maybe he can have some success later. But I think Susakayev probably runs just right through him. It's probably a round 1 KO, but I don't know to back this guy by KO anymore, because the last fight I had him KO and he subbed the guy. So it's like,
right.
Maybe you parlay inside the distance or something. It's going to be like probably not a great number to get, but yeah, I'm not really sure how to bet this one. The knockout's like minus 200, which is I mean, he should start Jared McConaughey, but I mean, we've seen his last fight where he just took him down and subbed him, so
Yeah.
that's always a concern. Yeah, but it's Susakayev inside the distance. It's just you got to pick a side, whether you lay the chalk on the knockout or you take the little bit of plus money on the sub.
Yeah. Sign makes a good point. It was 2 weight cuts in 1 week too. You got to kind of have to consider that. But I think he he came into it a little bit overconfident. I think he thought he was going to run through him, and for the most part he was. I mean, he was kind of doing what he wanted. But yeah, the 2 weight cuts didn't get him out of there. Maybe a little overconfident, got himself touched and rocked a little bit. But so maybe comes into this one with a little bit more a little bit more calm into this one. But yeah, he should. I mean, the line is what it is for a reason. He is really good. I think the debut performance, I think that was just him just trying to put on a show, and it was still a good performance. I mean, he still got the win, he still got the finish.
He got rocked though and hurt in that fight.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. But yeah, I mean, you don't really worry about that in this fight with McConaughey. I mean, he's not gonna.
He just doesn't throw punches.
He's not gonna push a pace. He's not gonna push a pace like that. So, it's probably he probably puts him out. But again, I mean, minus 200 on the knockout, like, man, that's tough. That's a tough look. And then obviously the inside the distance.
You're probably gonna lay juice. You're probably laying chalk on the round 1 KO too. So it's like
yeah, you probably are.
I haven't looked really into it, but I just seen the KO was like minus 215.
I mean, it's a good card. We don't have to bet every fight. This could be one where we just sit back and watch, and if he gets a crazy knockout, cool. If not, oh well. But yeah, I mean, these gigantic numbers.
Maybe take a shot like on the 2-3 KO. Maybe McConaughey just like skirts on the outside, doesn't throw a punch, just tries to survive.
Yeah,
maybe take a shot on that.
If you want to get crazy, go under half a round or 60 seconds. If you could bet those,
the under 1.5 got smashed too.
Yeah.
It's like minus 200, minus 230.
Yeah. But yeah, we can move on. I mean, this one, it is, that one is what it is. We got a pretty solid one here in the next fight. We got women's strawweight bout, Angela Hill taking on Fatima Klein. Angie Hill's just, she's always active. She's been fighting forever. She's definitely getting up there in age. At a pretty decent size disadvantage in this one. Klein, she looks the part. She looks like she's got some pretty serious upside. Her one loss was to what's her name?
Jasmine,
my girl. So she got taken down in that one, and but other than that, she's looked pretty good. She's shown the ability to finish. Angela Hill, somebody that is tough to put away, always active, but like I said, she's getting up there in age. It's going to get tougher and tougher. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Fatima Klein, big favorite here coming in. Pretty good prospect coming in. Trains with Blanchfield. They're her main training partner. So she's getting good work in the gym. Pretty decently well rounded. Good wrestling. Good striking, as we've seen. In the last fight, she got that head kick knockout in the 3rd round. She got that done, and then she finished. What's her name? Victoria Dudakova. It is what it is. And the Jasmine fight, she was really I think she was almost like a pick'em against Jasmine in that fight. So the books actually, gave her a pretty decent chance in that fight. Jazz just a vet lesson, just was able to take her down, control her, and just do her thing. But yeah, she's solid everywhere. I like her game. Good striker, good wrestling. Solid prospect at a good gym. And Angie Hill, what can we say about Angie Hill? 40 years old already, has had like a million fights in the UFC. We're pretty much getting out of her. Even though in her last couple of fights, she's kind of the gas tank is kind of she's been slowing down, I think. But I mean, you kind of expect that with age, But
Right.
she's a decent, good volume striker, not very much power. The defensive grappling. I mean, over the years, she has, one of her big, handicaps was being able to be taken down and wrestled. And, she's actually, as she's gotten older, she's kind of made some decent improvements in that area with the defensive grappling. And she's actually implemented a little bit of offensive grappling in her game too. So, yeah, I just think I think it's just the age is up there. She's slowing down. It's like, how much more gas does she have left in the tank? I'm not too sure against this young up and coming prospect that's hungry. Yeah, I like Fatima Klein here. I don't know. I mean, Angie's pretty durable, so I don't know if she finishes her, but I could always see Fatima like getting on top and laying some big ground and pound down on her, and the ref jumping in. So, yeah, I'm going to be on Fatima. I just need to decide how I'm going to bet her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Klein. I think Angie's it's going to be downward from here.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think Angie, she's shown a little bit of her age recently, like you said. Always tough, always in shape, but yeah, I mean, she's gonna be the smaller fighter here. Klein, she's for this division, she's got some pretty decent power. She's got those kicks that are dangerous, and yeah, I think she could find a finish. But with Angie, it's always tough. She's really fought the best of the best, and she's hung in there pretty well. So she's not going to quit out there. But yeah, I think Klein is the side here, and yeah, like you, I got to figure out how we're going to bet it. All right, our next fight is another good one here. We got Pat Sabatini taking on Chepe Mariscal. Mariscal is undefeated in his UFC run. These two have fought in the past. They went to a split decision on the regional scene where Chepe got the win there. Sabatini, very good grappler. Chepe, also a pretty good grappler. Junkyard dog type fighter. Should be another close one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is kind of, the first fight was kind of like a grappling match they kind of had. It was, two pretty decently, grapplers here. I mean, Chepe has the grappling in his back pocket, even though I really don't tend to think he really wants to use it. I think he tends more like he wants to strike and use his volume on the feet, which he has. He has great volume on the feet, great boxing. He's well rounded. He's solid. He's tough. He's a solid. He's on a great run coming into the UFC. He's looked pretty good. And yeah, and then Pat, we know what we're getting with Pat. Pat's pretty much he's an elite grappler. He's going to want to get you down to the ground, take you back. He's going to want to throw in subs. He's coming off a pretty good 2-fight win streak against Joanderson Brito, who's a killer, and Pierce. That was a pretty decent win. He finished him there. So, yeah. I mean, he's on a nice little run. But, the thing about Sabatini is always the striking is just pretty dreadful. And the chin is absolutely toast and it's gone. So, yeah, I don't know if Chepe really has the power to really touch the chin. Chepe's more of a kind of a volume guy. So, I don't know. This is kind of who's gonna is Chepe gonna be able to defend the takedowns and kind of like kind of just sprawl and brawl with them. And I think anybody could touch that chin of Sabatini, even if you don't have power. So that's always live a Chepe knockout. And if Sabatini gets you down, he could grab something up. So. I don't know. This is kind of a tough one for me. And Sabatini's taken some money throughout the week. It was like a pick'em, and now Sabatini was like a -135. I tend to kind of lean with Chepe here to get the job done here and kind of just be able to sprawl and ball and, kind of use his volume and kind of squeak out. It's probably going to be close, if he doesn't get knocked out, because the knockout is always live. So with
Right.
Sabatini, so yeah, I like Chepe here as a dog. Give me Chepe.
Yeah, me too. We have seen it more recently. Judges are supposed to score fights based on damage and not so much control. We have seen them start to do that a little bit. And I think that, if the judging goes the way that it's been going, Chepe is in a pretty good spot here because, yeah, there is a possibility that Sabatini takes him down. They had a pretty back and forth grappling affair the first time they fought. Both guys can grapple, but Sabatini's volume is not there. I mean, he looks for submissions and his strike totals are not very high. He doesn't do a lot of damage. His good performances are when he's getting those submissions or he's just completely blanketing somebody. And I don't think he's going to be able to just blanket Chepe here. So I think Chepe puts the more damage on him. I think he has a very good chance to knock him out. I don't think Sabatini's chin is very good. We've seen him hurt. We've seen him knocked out. So, yeah, I think overall, pretty close fight regardless. But I think the damage is going to be on the side of Chepe. I think the knockout upside is with Chepe. Obviously, Sabatini's always got that sub threat. If he gets something, he can snatch it up, and he's pretty good at finishing. So, there is that risk. But at a dog price, I like Chepe pretty much every time. So I'll be on Chepe here as well. All right, our next fight is in the middleweight division. We've got Kyle Daukaus, who returned to the UFC recently, taking on Gerald Meerschaert, who's been around forever. We all know he's extremely dangerous on the ground. He's dangerous as an underdog. He's come through many a times. Daukaus, pretty sizable favorite here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an interesting one from Daukaus being like kind of a castaway, from the UFC, coming in. Michel Pereira, I mean, I think that guy might need to be investigated, or he's just completely just cooked.
Right.
Yeah, because he's just on a terrible run. And, Daukaus, who's not really, known for his striking, he's more known for his grappling, absolutely just starched him, which is pretty insane and surprising. But, he's more so like a grappler. They call him the Darce Knight, so he's got that submission game. He's a pretty decent grappler, but one of his handicaps before he got cut from the UFC is the durability in the chin was just – there's just no chin there. I mean, anybody could pretty much touch his chin and pretty much fold him, him and his brother. So, yeah. He's coming in here. He's a big favorite. He's like minus 400. It's kind of crazy, I mean, but, GM3 is – I don't know, man. GM3 is, he's old. He's been around. He's had like 50 fights or something. He's a vet. He's always death taxes and GM3 by round 3 sub. But I just don't know. Like the durability and the chin is just probably gone. I don't know how much longer how many more fights he's got left in his career. He's getting at that age where he's almost cooked and he's almost done. It's like in the Ritter fight, he was having some success there, and then he got GM3'd himself in that third round from a gassed RDR, which is not something, usually he's the one doing that, which was just kind of surprising. I mean, he gets absolutely nuked by Mikhail Olasacek, which was only like 2 months ago, and now this is a turnaround so quick. It's hard for me to back GM3 here. Even as a dog, he's been successful as a dog. It's hard for me to get behind him. I mean, where I don't see where he would have success. I mean, the grappling, I don't think he's going to be able to out-grapple Daukaus. I mean, I don't see Daukaus really just death gassing and him being able to take over late. But you never know. I think Dawkins probably knocks him out and catches him on the chin again. I mean, Dawkins said he was going to knock him out, so I'm guessing, he's going to want to throw hands here, and he doesn't want to go into JM3's realm in the grappling department where he could be live, but I don't really think he has too much concern down there, Dawkins. But yeah, I could see a Dawkins inside the distance here. Yeah, I like Dawkins here inside the distance, probably an under.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, based on Dawkins' first run in the UFC, it is tough for me to be overly confident in him, but his run outside the UFC was good. Made his return, got a nice win. So he's looked good. He looks to be, the best that we've seen from him. And, GM3 is kind of, he's getting up there in age. He's definitely on the downswing. He's been finished a couple times recently. He always kind of looks sluggish. And, if you're sluggish against Dawkins, who's probably going to be pretty aggressive on the feet, probably not going to turn out too well. So I kind of like Dawkins to find the chin and get him out of there. But it's just always tough with Meerschaert, man. Like, sometimes you just think he's got no shot, and he just pulls it out. And
well, you could probably bet him live, like if he's
that's the thing.
Getting crushed, and he'll probably be like plus 1,500 in round 3, or going into round 3, he'll be a massive dog. So I mean,
if it looks, usually wins. If it looks like he's got some fight in him going into the third, and Dawkins, maybe slows down a bit. I mean, Dawkins not really a guy that gasses, but if it looks like it's going to at least be somewhat competitive, you might be able to grab a big number. And that's not a bad way to go about it. The sign said the KO round 1 for Dawkins is plus 500, so that's an interesting look. But I think one way or another somebody gets finished. I mean, I could even see GM3 just landing a big shot out of nowhere and putting him out. But
yeah, because this guy Dawkins, let's not forget, he had a beautiful, nice knockout against Michel, but he's got no chin.
Yeah, the chin is still there. Like, it's not a great chin. I mean, that's always going to be a problem. And
I'm hopefully he can fucking run through GM3, and we can get a fucking decent price to fade him, against somebody that can actually punch.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, overall, I will side with Dawkins here. I do think he's just in a better spot right now, and he has a pretty good shot, to finish this thing. But you can never be too confident, and for all the reasons we said. So maybe look at it live, but we'll see. All right, our next fight is a really, really good one in my eyes. Malcolm Wellmaker, who has just, been running through everybody, quick finishes, big power, taking on Cody Haddon, who is, solid in his own right. He's a good striker. He's pretty well-rounded, and, I think the striking is going to be interesting to see here. We haven't seen Wellmaker go deep into fights, so if Haddon can extend him, that'll be interesting to see. But, we got two guys pretty new to the UFC scene. Don't normally see matchups like this, but this is a fun one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one I'm looking forward to. I mean, you got Wellmaker coming in with all the hype, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been, he's looked amazing since, coming into the UFC. Just absolutely, nuked, Martinho. Even though, I mean, it's Martinho. I mean, Sean O'Malley kind of took him to the third round, and but Wellmaker was able to utilize what his big weapon is, that massive right hook that, if he lands that, it's pretty much good night, and then the Cameron Simon performance was really good, and his Contenders performance was good too. A lot of momentum coming in behind this guy, a lot of hype, he's, but we haven't, we know the striking is pretty good, but we really haven't seen him get extended. we haven't really seen him in the grappling department. So what does it look like if if he's taken down and has to work? And on his interview with Helwani this week, he said he likes people like not judging his wrestling, thinking he doesn't know how to wrestle, but he said he's drilling it all the time in training. He said he's actually a pretty aggressive wrestler. I mean, sometimes guys just say that, or they're trying to hype themselves up. I'm not too sure, but yeah, this is he's 31 years old, so the time is now for this guy. He's the prospect coming in, 31. He's got to get the ball rolling. He's got to get going here, and Cody Haddon is. I mean, I'm impressed with this kid. This kid is pretty good. I mean, the striking is pretty. He has good combinations: body, head, body. Switches levels pretty well. Good combinations. Crazy volume. I mean, that Argueta fight. That fight was pretty nuts. The amount of volume he was able to push out and still have the cardio to continue to throw volume in the third round, which was pretty insane. Plus, defend like 50 takedowns from Argueta. Right. And stuff him, and be able to have the cardio to throw like almost 200 strikes in that fight, which was pretty fucking crazy. Haven't seen him in a while. He was supposed to fight Takuria, but he had to pull out of that one. So we haven't seen him in quite a bit, and he's all the equalizer here is he's got that grappling, he can't. I don't know if he can get takedowns. We haven't really seen Wellmaker's takedown defense really tested at all. So, I mean, Haddon's probably going to put his grappling to the test. And yeah. I don't know. This is a real, I'm more excited just to watch this one and than to bet on it because I like both guys here. And Wellmaker's taking a lot of money because when I looked at this, I think it was Monday, Wellmaker was like minus 120.28, and then Wellmaker took tons of money. He was like minus 180, minus 200, I think, now. So, yeah, this is a real tough one for me, but I'm going to lean that Wellmaker is the real deal, and he's got just that game-changing power, and he's able to find the button. And I think Wellmaker by KO is probably something I might sprinkle on here. But I think this is a really good fight with two good prospects.
Yeah, I haven't been able to really make a real decision on this fight. I think Haddon is very live. Obviously, I'm curious to see what the fight looks like if it gets extended. Wellmaker seems to, be doing all the right things. He's a full-time fighter. He was a part-time fighter coming into the UFC.
Pipe fitter.
Yeah, and got the bonus, quit his job, and he's been full-time fighter since, which. That makes a difference. Going to work like 7 to 3, 7 to 4, whatever, that type pipe fitter hours, it's tough. And then you got to go to the gym. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. So, he could be improving, leaps and bounds in the next year or two. That was a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years ago now that he quit his job. So, that's interesting.
It was about a year ago, wasn't it? About a year
ago,
right?
Because it was right after the Contender Series. So yeah. So it's been about a year, a little over a year. So you can make great improvements over that time, and especially when you have more time to train. So I mean, I think the kid's got a lot of upside. He's shown the power to be real. The guys he has knocked out in the UFC, I mean, the Moutinho one was pretty much guaranteed. The Simon, Simon's a good fighter, but he can be clipped. So this is definitely going to be his toughest test, and I kind of like Haddon just as a dog here, but it's tough to bet against Wellmaker, and this might be another one that I just look at and see what happens in the first round, and then go from there because I think it's a good one, and it's if Haddon can avoid the big power and just implement his game, it's gonna be a hell of a fight. All right, moving right along here, we've got another rematch from the regional scene. Aaron Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez. These two fought, I believe it was in Invicta years ago. Tracy Cortez got the win there. Blanchfield is the favorite coming into this one. Another close one. I mean, Blanchfield's got the volume on her side. Cortez, good striker, not always as high volume as Blanchfield. But yeah, I mean, both can grapple. Obviously, Blanchfield likes to grapple a little bit more. Another close one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Blanchfield, she's coming off a pretty decent win over Rose Namajunas, but it's like I think Rose kind of lost that fight on her own because Rose won the first 2 rounds and then just completely gassed in that fight, and Aaron was able to get takedowns and do what she needed to do in that one. And I think the striking is absolutely dreadful for Aaron Blanchfield. I don't think it's good at all. I mean, Manon Fiorot just, kind of absolutely, put on a clinic on her, just made her look absolutely silly in that fight, which was, Manon's solid, and, Blanchfield was nowhere near her level, and yeah, and then she was on a nice run. Talia Santos and Jessica Andrade finishing Andrade and finishing McCann. She had a lot of hype going into that Bureau fight, and she was kind of fraud checked a little bit in that fight. And Tracy Cortez, she's a good striker. She's coming off a pretty good win herself. Winning the Viviana Araujo fight, which was she did what she had to do in that fight. The Rose fight, she didn't look the greatest in that fight, but it was also on short notice where she had to fill in there. So I kind of give her a break there. But yeah, she's a good wrestler. I think she's definitely the better striker here and has probably the better volume than Blanchfield. You go back to their first fight, which was like 6 years ago, and I don't even think Blanchfield really threw a punch in that fight. I mean, she was pretty much holding on to an arm for 3 minutes, 4 minutes of the fight, and Cortez was able to pull it out and get on top and kind of win that round because Blanchfield did absolutely nothing, and then the second round was a clear Cortez round, and round 3 she was able to get some top control and get some takedowns and didn't really threaten any kind of submissions or anything like that, and Cortez was able to kind of get back up to her feet a couple of times, so. Yeah, this is a super close one. They fought, they fought before. Blanchfield was super young in their first fight. Obviously, I do think Blanchfield has made tons of improvements. She has gotten better in her striking since that fight. The striking is kind of improved, but it's not the greatest. Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I don't know. I think who's made the better improvements right now in their career, and I think it's kind of Aaron Blanchfield. But I could see Cortez being slick here and kind of, staying at range and utilizing her jab and her striking to kind of just, do a little bit more. But I think Blanchfield has made enough improvements. She should be able to get takedowns here. I don't think she finishes her, but I can see like a 29-28 Blanchfield win. I think it's a super close fight. I lean Blanchfield right now, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It's tough, man.
Yeah, this one is tough because I could see paths for both women here.
Yeah. The thing about Blanchfield is she will now. You talk about the previous when they fought. She didn't throw a lot of strikes. She does throw a decent amount. Now she just does. She's not a great striker, but she will put decent volume up. Cortez is really her boxing is much cleaner though, so it's tough to kind of stand in there and throw heavy volume against somebody who's going to be able to pepper your face with jabs and get in and out quick. So it's tough. But yeah,
because I think Cortez is probably the better wrestler, and I think Blanchfield is probably the better BJJ practitioner. You know what I mean?
When she gets top position,
when she gets top and she gets into positions, I think that's where Blanchfield is really good. Getting it there, I think is her struggle to maybe get it to the get the takedowns, and I think Cortez's takedown defense is okay.
It's
But
all right. It's like in the 60%, which
yeah,
she can be taken down, but she can wrestle herself, like you said. I mean, her grab. She's landed quite a few takedowns. Going back, looking at her fight history. So I mean, they can both wrestle. It's just going to be a matter of who gets the wrestling going, I guess, first, or if Cortez is able to keep it on the feet, I think Cortez probably wins. Yeah, it's another razor close fight, kind of like the Cortez side as the dog, but yeah, it's tough. But I'm gonna say for the purposes of the show to pick a winner, I'm gonna roll with Cortez here.
wow, yeah. I was kind of leaning that way all week, and I've kind of switched throughout the week. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just
It's
one of
tough.
those fights. It's just one of those fights.
Maybe a
That's gonna be
Cortez plus
close.
3.5. That might be a good look.
Yeah,
Cortez
that
plus
probably
3.5.
is. Yeah, I don't see her getting finished by anything. So yeah, I think the plus 3.5 probably a decent way to look at it. All right, moving right along to a banger. We got Roman Kopilov taking on Gregory Rodriguez, middleweight division. Kopilov, very good striker, very good kicks. He's had some big moments in the UFC. He's also had some rough patches. As so has Rodriguez. I mean, Rodriguez, big, strong dude, massive power, dangerous. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Doesn't always use it, but it is there. Two guys really willing to stand and trade. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this should be. I mean, two guys just going in there and just standing and banging in there. I mean, Kopilov, really good striker. Really good. Kicks. Head kicks, really good. Decent. Pretty decent volume. Tends to kind of slow down towards the end of fights though, which is not something you like to see. But he's a
Yeah,
talented striker, and he had a really like weird performance in his last fight, the Paulo Costa fight, where I don't know. He seemed scared to engage with Costa, which was kind of weird. I don't know what to do all with that. But before that, the Chris Curtis knockout, that was a pretty decent win. And then the
yeah,
Cesar Almeida, he actually went to grappling in that fight, which was you never see Kopolov grappling, but
right.
Cesar Almeida is dangerous on the feet, and there was a path there for him to be able to take him down. And yeah, it's and then fucking Gregory is kind of just like a warrior. Go in there, throw as hard as you can, and try to fucking knock your opponent out. Like you said, he has fucking elite BJJ world champion, but just and good wrestling, but just decides just not to use it. He had a spectacular knockout in his last fight, against Jack Hermanson. Absolutely starched him. Jack Hermanson, usually a pretty durable guy, was absolutely floored him and put him out and hit him with some big unnecessary follow-up shots too in that
Yeah,
one, which was kind of crazy. And the Jared Cannonier fight was kind of a weird one where he rocked Cannonier, he hurt Cannonier in that first round. It looked like and then the second round he was hurting Cannonier, and then he kind of like gassed, and Cannonier was just put the vet lesson on him, was able to put volume and pace on him, and eventually was able to break him. The Christian Leroy Duncan win, that's looking like a pretty good win after this last weekend.
yeah,
Yeah, this is a really, really, really tough one, man, because I could see both guys catching each other, man. This one is a banger. It's really hard to call, but oh man, I'm gonna leave. RoboCop has just the better power and just I don't even know the better cardio, but just able to push forward more. But Kopilov's always live, man. Kopilov's always live to lie on something, but I just don't like the cardio of Kopilov, and
yeah,
I think Rodriguez throws pretty hard. And I think eventually he catches them. But also too, you got to think that Rodriguez has a lot of like scar tissue on his face. He gets cut open and stuff like that. So you never know with that too. That could lead to a stoppage because all that scar tissue on his face. But yeah, I eventually see Rodriguez finding something pretty big here and putting them away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that Cannonier loss, that one was a bit of a tough one to take because I was on him in that fight, and it looked like he had it. I mean, multiple times. But again, like that stuff happens when. I mean, he put on a ton of volume in the first couple rounds of that fight. He was landing massive shots. He had him hurt really bad. And you see it all the time when you put that kind of volume out there and the guy doesn't go away, all of a sudden your cardio just falls off a cliff. And that kind of seemed like that was what happened there. Because we have seen RoboCop go 3 rounds.
3 hard rounds,
no problem. And that was a 5-round fight. And if that was a 3-round fight, it would have been his. I believe it went into the fourth.
Yeah, it went into the fourth where Cannonier finished him in the fourth. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that would have been his fight too. But yeah, I feel like if he does that and puts that kind of volume and damage on Kopylov, I think he puts him away. And I've always been a RoboCop fan. I've backed the guy many, many times, and I just like the way he fights. I like his toughness. I mean, we have seen him busted wide open in fights and just keep going forward and not be fazed by it. So he's a true fighter. He's got real power. He's got good size, and I think he
has a clear advantage here too. If he wants to take Kopylov down, I think he could easily take Kopylov down and probably submit him. But Kopylov's takedown defense is not good. He's not good off his back.
Yeah.
No.
So I just think there's a lot of ways he could win this fight, but ultimately, I think if he lands that big power, that's probably all he's going to need. And I think we see a finish in this one. I think RoboCop gets it. All right. Next fight is
I'll be right back. Use the bathroom real quick.
All right.
Go.
We've got Bo Nickel taking on Rodolfo Vieira. I don't really know what to think of Bo Nickel at this point. The loss to RDR was very eye-opening. I mean, he just looked like he got outclassed in that one. Obviously took the knee to the stomach, which took him out. He took a bunch of knees before that, which broke him down a little bit. But here, taking on Vieira. Vieira's a really strong BJJ guy. He's a guy that, we've seen struggle a bit on the feet, but he's shown some pretty good improvements. We've seen him gas out in the past, but, he's shown his cardio's been better over the past couple of years. At this point, I don't really know what to make of Bo Nickel coming into this one. And it all depends. Bo Nickel's got the NCAA grappling, which most of the time that heavy wrestling game can negate a lot of jiu-jitsu, but Vieira is extremely dangerous on the ground. So, who knows? And who knows what, where Bo Nickel's head is coming into this one after taking that loss. He thought, back in the day was talking about, I could beat Adesanya, I can beat all these guys. Little humbling moment. So, but yeah, I mean, to me, this fight is a weird one. I don't really know what to expect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you. It's kind of crazy, because, Bo Nickel had all the hype. He was doing all the interviews saying he'd be, minus 1,000 favorite till he got to the championship, and then he'd be favorite over Chimaev, and then, a whole bunch of just delusional, crazy talk. And, he had a lot of hype coming in, and, I mean, in his fights, he looked good, but, he was beating pretty much cans. I mean, Val Woodburn and fucking, who's the guy with the dreads that he beat? Fucking, I'll look it up right now.
I can't think of
Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett.
Yeah.
I mean, Pickett, Val Woodburn. I mean,
Cody Brundage.
Not Cody Brundage. I mean, And, it's like you had a striking affair with Paul Craig. Paul Craig was competitive with you on the feet. I mean, Paul Craig's one of the worst strikers we've seen in this division in the history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely terrible. He went tit for tat with Paul Craig, which is, I mean, I guess you could kind of compare similar Paul Craig to kind of Rodolfo Vieira, which is
Absolutely.
kind of interesting, because they're kind of more grappler first, and but Vieira has made a lot of improvements in his striking. The Petrosky fight, he lost that fight, but I kind of think he won that fight.
I thought he won that fight. Yeah.
And it was a pretty much striking match. Two good grapplers were able to didn't really grapple, and they were able to just strike for 15 minutes, and it was it was a close fight. It wasn't a robbery, but I thought Vieira had won. And even in the Chris Curtis fight, Vieira was kind of holding his own in that fight. In the Chris Curtis fight, Chris Curtis was able to work him. He showed heart and was able to push through, and was semi-competitive on the feet. So Vieira, and then Fluffy was able to take him down into deep waters and sub him, which is, I mean, we know Fluffy is just an absolute animal, and I mean, people didn't see that. Him getting submitted by Fluffy was kind of a big surprise. The black belt hunter, getting submitted by him, but. It's like, what does Bo Nickel do here? Like, where do you go? I mean, the RDR fight was just not a great look. You came in as a pretty big favorite against a guy who was pretty, he was on a nice little run, and you came in and, you tried to strike with them. You didn't really want to grapple with them because, RDR submission game, I'm guessing you were scared of that. That's why you didn't want to go to your wrestling, which is probably your best attribute as a fighter is probably your wrestling, because you're not a striker. He's not the striking is pretty bad. The striking is bad. You start Val Woodburn and you finish, Jamie Pickett, but the striking is not very good. I mean, I'm guessing he could make improvements there, but I mean, the path for him here would probably just get takedowns here and be heavy on top and not let, Rodolfo really get any submissions off. Just be on top, be heavy. Use your pressure on top, land ground and pound, and try to stay safe on the ground, because on the feet, I think it's probably a 50-50 fight on the feet if it's striking, It's a close one. And then what if Bo Nickel takes him down and then Vieira sweeps him, takes his back? I think Bo can be in pretty big trouble, This is a tough one for me. It's hard for me to trust Bo Nickel after his last fight. And just seeing all the other performance and the quality of opponents he's had.
Yeah,
and then Vieira's not a slouch, man. Vieira's pretty decent, man, but I'm going to just ride with Bo Nickel one last time here, probably by decision. One last ride with Bo, and if he, and like they're giving him some pretty difficult matchups. I don't know if he's getting like, I mean, why isn't he getting like fucking, some easier matchups? UFC are kind of feeding them to the wolves. If you could say that. But
yeah, they went like they gave him can after can, and then
after
RDR,
can, and then step up to RDR, who's a former champion, 2-weight division champion, and is massive. And then now I guess Vieira's a little bit of a step back, but yeah, I'm gonna lean Bo Nickel. Just gets takedowns here, is able to just keep top heavy pressure and get a decision.
Yeah, I wish he did grapple in the Paul Craig
I wish,
fight.
but I have a feeling he might not grapple. I have a feeling this is going to probably be a fucking 15-minute, low-volume shit striking fest. Close fight. It could be. I could see it being that.
I mean, we've seen, like, when Vieira's done that, his striking, it's come a long way. And I think on the feet,
he has a nice jab.
Yeah, I think on the feet, he might even have a decent advantage. I mean, we've seen the guy take some pretty good shots. We've seen him, fight on the feet for 3 rounds and, look a lot better than Bo did against Paul Craig. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm one of the biggest Paul Craig fans out there. That guy can't strike for anything. So yeah, that one was a tough look, and it would be nice to see what the grappling would have done against RDR and what it would have done against Paul Craig, because that gives us a better thought here. I mean, usually power wrestlers do have success against jiu-jitsu guys because you can just, you can negate the submissions just by out positioning them. But we have not seen that. We've only seen him grapple against guys that can't touch him on the ground. So there is a chance where he just comes out and puts Vieira on his back and just looks like $1 million again. But man, it's tough to be confident in. I'm hoping to see some grappling in this one because I really want to see where his wrestling stacks up. But even in the fights where, what was it, the Brundage fight, there was a fight or two that went into the second round where I was a little worried about Bo's cardio. It almost seemed like
he gassed in the RDR fight. He pretty much
gassed.
Yeah,
like that, and we saw it in that fight. Like he just, it's almost like if he doesn't have success, he panics, and his cardio could fall off a cliff. So I don't know. Maybe that could just be a problem for him going forward. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, he has the credentials to get it done here. So
got a good gym. He's at American Top Team. I mean, you got to think they have a game plan here.
You would think. You would think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I'll ride the train one more time, and if it goes off the rails, it's gonna be. It may be a rough run for him in the UFC, but I think Nickel can get it done, and if he does what he's best at, that gives him the best chance to win, despite the fact that he's fighting a dangerous grappler. But yeah, we'll see. Bo Nickel, take the shot, see what happens. All right, next fight is
pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, first fight on the main card here. We've got a lightweight bout between Beneil Dariush and Benoit Saint Denis. This is a bit of a crossroads fight. Kind of Saint Denis, I thought this guy was an absolute killer. And, he's been the hype train's kind of slowed on him in a couple of his fights. And, Dariush is a guy, he's been around a long time. He's had, some great moments in the UFC. He's humbled some guys. And I'm kind of interested to see here, is this a spot where Dariush just shows that Saint Denis is not on that next level that he needs to get to? Or is Saint Denis, he's coming off a pretty solid win, took down Hoofy and just outclassed him on the ground. But not exactly the easiest thing to do against Beneil Dariush. So interested to see what the strategies are in this fight. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is a super interesting fight. I mean, like, you got, Benoit, who, he's coming off a good win against, Hoofy. He was able to, take him down, grapple him, do what he had to do. We had question marks about Hoofy's grappling, and, it was kind of, Benoit was able to, expose that. And then, he had the Prepelec fight, which was, he just pretty much ran through Prepelec. And, the Moicano fight, it's kind of Moicano wasn't a great performance. He got, he was, he got taken down and then was absolutely destroyed on the mat, like 10-7 in the first round, and took a ton of damage. Eye was swelled shut, was beat up, and it's, but towards, like the end of that second round, Moicano kind of started to fade, and Benoit was trying to come back, but the damage was just insurmountable. And yeah, he lost that fight. And then the Dustin Poirier fight, he looked like $1 million in round one, and then had staph and completely like gassed and got absolutely planted. The God of War, we know what he's going to come to do. He's going to come in here. He's going to throw, he's got good, decent striking, good power in his hands. The grappling is okay, but I don't think he has the grappling advantage here. I think Beneil has a pretty significant grappling advantage here, and I don't know. Beneil could probably, Beneil, he had a good win against Moicano. He was able, he did get hurt in that first round, and it looked like he was about to be finished, but he was able to survive. He landed, was able to implement that grappling heavy game plan, and Moicano just, completely gassed in that one, and he was able to do what he had to do. Beneil, he's a pretty decent striker. Good boxing, well-rounded. Really, really good wrestler. BJJ on the mat is pretty good. It's just you question really his durability and where his chin's at. Like, is it like because Armin Sarukian nuked him, Charles Oliveira nuked him. But before that, Beneil was on a pretty decent run. But it was always question marks about his chin. Alexander Hernandez nuked him with a nasty, elbow back in the day, which was pretty crazy, a big upset there. So, Beneil's always had kind of chinny issues, but, he was on a nice run before, he made it to the title against Oliveira. So, he was was that a title fight?
No, that wasn't.
No, that wasn't, no. But yeah, he fought Charles, it was going to be for the title. The winner of that went on to, I think, fight for the title. So, yeah, this is a tough one for me. And this is another tough one where I kind of lean Beneil all week. I think Beneil could probably get takedowns here and have some success in the grappling department. I see him easily. When Beneil, what really impressed me with Beneil was the Gamrot fight where he was able to just neutralize all of Gamrot's grappling and was able to take down Gamrot himself and look really good in that fight. But my concern is always that chin, man. Benoit hits like a truck, man, and if he hits him on that chin, he could put him out pretty easily. I lean Beneil all week, but I'm gonna switch up, and I'm gonna say Saint Denis catches that chin and is able to put him out early. But also, this could be also another good live betting spot where if Beneil's having success, if he gets a takedown, if he survives early, maybe he can take over. But I think Saint Denis eventually catches his chin, probably puts him out in round one.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with Beneil here. I think he's the better fighter. Obviously, he could get hurt early in this fight, but I really do think that he's just a step above, and I think he's going to show that in this one. The first round KO I think would be the way to go. If you're betting Saint Denis, I do think that's probably when he would get him out of there if he did. So that's not a bad look. But I just think Beneil puts on a show here and gets it done. And I'm going to ride with him.
Yeah, I leaned him all week. All week, I leaned him. Beneil. Yeah.
But again, it's like every fight.
But then I found myself taking every dog on the main card, and I'm like, I don't really feel great about that. So.
But yeah, I do think a lot of dogs are gonna come through. So I'm hoping Beneil's one of them. But yeah, that first round's definitely gonna be sketchy. So we'll see how that goes. And then the later it goes, I like Beneil for sure. All right, we move on to the next fight, which is another good one. Welterweight bout. We got Leon Edwards taking on Carlos Prates. Prates rebounded from his loss pretty well. Got a good win over Jeff Neal. Looked great in that fight. Leon, he's always been a really good fighter. Obviously, was a champion, and sometimes can be a little lackluster in his performances, but overall, he's got a really good skill set. He's a championship level fighter. This is a really, really interesting matchup here. Prates is a guy that likes to counter strike, as does Leon. So, that could lead to a little bit of a slow fight. But good one here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a super intriguing matchup. Leon coming off kind of a rocky, pun intended, rocky little streak here. where he's fought like elite grapplers. Like he's fought,
Yeah.
he fought Sean Brady, who's, I mean, the elite of elite grappling, really good grappler there, and was pretty much ragdolled in that fight. And Bilal Muhammad, I guess he fought Bilal before Bilal figured out he had Canelo hands. So Bilal went to the grappling heavy game plan there and was able to take the championship away from Leon. But Leon's, he's, I don't think he's not going to have to worry about the wrestling here. So this is probably going to be a striking match. And, I mean, Leon, he's he's a technical striker. He doesn't have the highest volume, which is kind of concerning, but when he throws, he makes it count. He's got good kicks. He's got, good combinations. Like you said, he's kind of a counter striker. He doesn't throw a massive amount of volume, but it's pretty good. It's not the best, but he's pretty much he's kind of he makes it count when he throws. And he's on a tough run. I think, but I still think he has something left in the tank. And Carlos Prates is kind of he's a beast. He's going to walk forward. He's going to throw big bombs. He's going to try to put you out and separate you from consciousness and try to knock you out. And the Jeff Neal fight, his last fight, was a great performance. That spinning elbow was pretty sick. He's fucking. But I think Neal was, Jeff Neal was kind of having a little bit of success before that spinning elbow. And it was competitive. And I had a 2-3 KO for Prates in that one, and he knocked him out with 1 second left in the first round, which was not the greatest. But this is kind of two low volume strikers going at it. I think Leon is just going to be able to. I just think Leon's a little bit more well rounded, and I think he can probably sneak in a takedown and steal around here, bank around, steal in a takedown, because Leon is also a pretty decent wrestler and a grappler. If he wants to use it, he's got it in his back pocket. And he can always pull it out. And I think he probably tends to use the same kind of game plan that Ian Gary kind of use, kind of stay on the outside, make, Prates kind of chase you around, slip in a timely takedown, hold him down, land a little ground and pound. I like Leon here. Leon as a dog. I'll be on Leon. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference between these two is Leon knows how to win rounds, and Prates is a guy that kind of needs to.
He's a moment winner. He's a moment winner. Leon's more the minute winner, I would think. Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, looking back at the Jeff Neal fight, Neal was doing, pretty decent in that fight before that spinning elbow. So, I mean, for the most part, Prates, on the Contender Series, I can't remember. I want to say he either lost the first round or it was like a very low, lackluster first round. Got a second round finish there. Then his debut kind of was like
it was low volume. It was a low volume.
He was losing, and it didn't look good, and then he got a finish there. So I mean, he does kind of leave himself in that position where he needs to rely on that power to win fights, because he doesn't really bank rounds. And Leon is kind of the opposite. Leon knows how to win rounds. He's very, he's got a high fight IQ. And the grappling is good. I mean, obviously we've seen him get out grappled by some really good grapplers, but even in that first Usman fight, like he had, I think he swept Usman, or maybe he took him down in the first round, had Usman's back. And then, obviously Usman controlled most of that fight until the head kick. And the Beneil fight, it was like he sleptwalked through that fight. Like he
Bilal fight, but then he had Bilal in round 5. He was able to get on top of Bilal and was just smashing him.
So what did I say, Beneil? Yeah. But I mean, he so he's had those performances.
Nobody remembers his name, anyways. Don't
right? Exactly. That's perfect. It's perfect. So, he's had those lackluster performances, but that's against guys that want to grapple and want to grapple heavy. Obviously, Prates not going to have that game plan, and if he did, I don't think it's going to be successful. I think Edwards, probably schools him on the ground. But yeah, so I agree. I like Leon here. I think this is a decent bounce back spot. Obviously that power is always a problem, but for the most part, Leon's been shown to be very durable. So don't worry about that as much here. So yeah, I like Leon here as well. All right. Moving right along here, we've got another really intriguing matchup. We got Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales. Sean Brady is a guy that he wants to wrestle first. Yeah, his striking has improved, but he's shown some vulnerability on the feet at times. Morales, very, very good striker, big, strong guy. He's got good takedown defense. This is, these two are right up there in the title talks. The winner of this fight is right there for a title shot. So this should be a great one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is a banger right here. I love this fight. I mean, John Brady on a nice run here. I mean, he's ever since the Bilal fight, he's been on a pretty good run. Bilal kind of, I don't know, but Bilal was kind of able to in that fight. In his last loss against Bilal, Bilal was kind of able to neutralize the wrestling, and it was more of a striking affair. And I mean, somehow Bilal Muhammad got a knockout, which was pretty crazy to see. He pretty much never knocks out anybody. So yeah, that's an interesting fight. But he bounced back from there. He's had some pretty, some solid performances. The Leon fight was a masterclass in that fight. The Gilbert Burns fight, he did what he had to do in that fight. Kelvin Gastelum, was able to submit Kelvin, and he's on a nice little run here. Really solid wrestling, good top control, good top pressure. Striking is kind of even though it has made improvements. The boxing is a little bit, it's okay, but it's not the greatest. And yeah, I mean, he's on a nice run here. And Morales is, this guy is well rounded. I mean, he's pretty much good everywhere the fight goes. I mean, the striking is pretty nasty. I like how he strikes. I like the combinations. I like the power he has. And the grappling. He also has grappling in his back pocket that he can go to. And utilize too if he needs to. He's maybe his grappling is not on the level as Brady, but I mean it's still pretty good. And that's just the worry here is if Morales gets taken down and kind of held down and controlled, and maybe Brady finds a dominant position. But I think he's probably going to be able to shrug off the takedowns from Brady and just neutralize him, kind of like the Bilal Muhammad fight. And I think Morales has significantly more power and is the way better striker. And I think Morales probably catches him and puts him out here.
Yeah, I like Morales a lot.
Yeah,
and he's a guy that came into the UFC, looked really good, had some performances where you're like, all right, is he as good as we think he is? But it's almost like he was just doing the work that he had to do just to win and continue to move on. And I feel like recently we've really seen what he can really do. And I think he's got an extremely high ceiling. I think he's extremely dangerous on the feet for Brady. It's not good for him if these guys are standing for any period of time. Brady's at risk. And like you said, he's got good takedown defense. I think he's like 89% takedown defense. And he is a big, strong guy. So he's not easy to take down, and if you do take him down, he's not easy to hold down. So yeah, I like Morales here, man. I think he's got, championship level potential, and I think he's very live to knock Sean Brady out.
Yep.
All right, so that moves us into our title fights here, and the live dogs continue. We've got Valentina Shevchenko, the queen of this division for a very, very long time. She lost her belt, got it back, taking on Weili Zhang, who is the strawweight champ. Well, was a strawweight champion, vacated the belt, moving up here. Wei Li, she's got it all. She's a good striker. She's got really good wrestling, and but Valentina, on the other hand, she's shown that she can grapple as well. She's obviously an elite striker. We've seen her for a very long time. She fought up at bantamweight for a while before this division even was a thing, and she did well there. So this is a pretty big step up for Wei Li. I mean, this is if you're going to fight the champion at the next weight class up, she's definitely fighting as good a champion as she can find. But I think this is a really close fight here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just a super interesting. We finally get the kind of the fight we wanted was the two champs going at it. Wei Li finally makes her move up, and this is a super interesting fight. We got Shevchenko, who the Manon Fiorot fight. It was close. I think maybe one punch probably won that fight. I think it was the fourth round where she dropped Fiorot. Fiorot was having a good round, and she clipped her at the end of the round and probably stole that round and stole the fight. But yeah, it was a super close fight, with Manon, and she had her little, her little trilogy with Alexa, and the first one she was kind of weird. She got submitted, which was, she did some stupid kick and got her back taken, and was submitted, and then the second fight was a draw, which was kind of crazy. They gave a 10-8 in that fight, which I don't see any kind of 10-8s in that fight. And then the third one, she just absolutely dominated in that fight, went the takedown route and kind of just held her down. And we've kind of seen Valentina kind of shy away from her striking a little bit, as of recently. She's kind of went more the grappling heavy approach in her fights, which is interesting. She's and she hasn't really looked like old Valentina. She kind of seems to be maybe losing a bit of a step in some of her fights. I don't know. It's just me off my eye watch, or just watching her whole career, and she seems to kind of be slowing down a little bit. And Wei Li is just, what can you say? She's pretty much ran through everybody in her division. There's no one left. She had the couple fight hiccup with Rose Namajunas, which Rose caught her there with the head kick, and then Rose was able to grapple her way to a victory there. Yeah, and it's, I don't really fault her for that. Rose is a pretty good fighter, and she just had Wei Li's number that day. But
you could argue Wei Li won that fight though too. I was on Rose. Yeah, I was on Rose, and I was not confident when they went to the scorecards.
Yeah, it was just the takedowns that Rose was able to get and kind of lay on top and kind of steal rounds. But yeah, and then since then she's kind of just ran through all of these girls, and they've never really had a chance against her. And this is the, I think, perfect time for her to move up and have this big clash. And it's going to be interesting. Like, does I think Wei Li. Even though moving up, I like the crisp, compact boxing she has. I think she might have a little. I think the power. I don't think the power is not translating up a weight class is really going to be too much of an effect here, because she was she's pretty stocky, pretty built. So I think the power will translate up. Yeah, really good striker. She has wrestling of her own. The takedown defense is kind of maybe not the greatest, which would be a spot for maybe Valentino would expose here at times to kind of maybe try to shoot in a takedown and kind of wrestle at times. But yeah, I don't know. I see this pretty even on the feet, and it's just slight advantage to Valentina in the grappling. But I see this as being like a super close fight, and I got to ride with Wei Li here as a dog in kind of a close fight, and hope she can pull it out here.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, man. Wei Li. Her offensive wrestling is pretty impressive, and she's made leaps and bounds improvements in her grappling too. We saw the Tatiana fight. Tatiana had no shot of taking her to the ground, and she just, I mean, that was just easy work. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think both have some upside in the grappling department. I think, yeah, obviously both are good strikers, both are dangerous. Obviously, we've seen Whaley get knocked out with a head kick, so Valentina, obviously a very live person to get a head kick KO win. Um, so that could be a concern. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Whaley is kind of at her best right now, and Valentina, while she's still great, I think maybe has lost a little bit. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight, competitive, and yeah, I think Whaley gets it done. Which brings us to our main event, where yet again we have another fighter moving up, former champion at lightweight, Islam Makhachev, moving up to challenge Jack Della Maddalena, who was, kind of shocking to see him get to the title when he got there and get the win. And but I mean, the guy's extremely dangerous on the feet. He's shown that he can stop some grappling himself. And yeah, I mean, Islam moving up looks huge, and he was always a big guy at 155, so he's going to have some decent size on him here. Obviously, Islam going to be looking to grapple in this one. Jack's going to be looking to knock his head off. Another interesting one here. Islam is a pretty sizable favorite. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a super interesting fight. I mean, kind of a clash of styles here. We know what Islam's going to want to do. He's going to want to get his grappling going. He's going to want to get takedowns, get top control. He's got good BJJ on the ground. I mean, the striking is pretty good too. Yeah, this guy's an elite fighter. I mean, he's moving up here to try to claim that double champ status, something that Khabib never did. And he's generally a big guy. He always was cutting a lot of weight to make it down to 55. So, I don't think he's going to probably be, I mean, Jack is clearly going to be the bigger guy here, but I don't think it's going to be by much. Um, yeah, I mean, Islam is Islam, since, Islam has kind of benefited a lot from like people pulling out of fights late. I mean, he had to fight, Moicano and,
Yeah,
a couple of, what was the other one? The Moicano fight. And then I'm thinking of another one that he fought. Oh, the Bobby Green fight.
Bobby Green, yeah.
Bobby Green was the last minute replacement in that fight. So he got, that one. And, the Dustin Poirier fight was somewhat kind of concerning. I mean, the way Poirier was able to kind of scramble and avoid the dangerous positions. But, I mean, he did end up getting submitted in the fifth, but throughout the fight, I mean, the way he was kind of able to scramble and get back up and was kind of boxing up and busted up had Islam leaking from his forehead, and he was kind of busting up Islam a little bit, even though Islam was edging out the exchanges and banking rounds. But Poirier had his moments in there where, we know what we're getting with Jack. Jack is pretty much an elite striker, good volume, really, crisp techniques. I mean, I like his elbows, his step-in elbows. I like, the combinations, ripping to the head, to the body. Really good. I mean, that Bilal Muhammad fight, he absolutely, he kind of schooled him in that fight. When Bilal tried to show off his Canelo hands, and they weren't quite Canelo hands. And, yeah, he was able to piece him up. And, Bilal didn't try to wrestle in that fight where we've seen kind of JDM kind of wrestled before, like Gilbert Burns fight. He was taken down a bunch of times, but he was able to scramble and avoid some dangerous positions and work his way back up to the feet. Eventually found a knockout in that fight. In the Brazil Hafez fight, that first round, Brazil, got a few takedowns in the first round. He was able to get back up and, kind of didn't really have much more success, after that. JDM's working with Craig Jones, who was in the same camp as, Volkanovski. So they both game planned before for Islam. Man, this is a super interesting fight, and it's crazy. I don't know. It's all. I think if it's on the feet, I could definitely see JDM just being the bigger guy, having the more power and catching Islam. But I don't know. This sneaky rat's probably just going to get takedowns and hold them down and just probably win a decision, I would guess. But yeah, I'm still on the fence here of what I really want to do. I'm kind of leaning. I don't want to take the shot with JDM, but I think I might be burning money, and I think Islam probably wins, maybe subs him. But I'm still on the fence. But as of now, I'm gonna pick Islam by sub. But I'm not. It's nothing concrete, confident right now. I still got a couple more days to think about it and watch maybe a little bit more tape. But yeah, the pick probably is Islam and Islam by sub for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to bet against Islam. It really is.
Yeah.
I do think JDM is live to knock him out, though. I mean, even Moicano, clipped him with a good shot. Gave him a little scare before he took Moicano down. And
Poirier was fucking him up at times too.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like if JDM can fight that kind of a fight, like Poirier,
he probably starches
natural power. Yeah, he's got more natural power, and he could get it done. He's over a 2-1 underdog here. It is tempting. But man, it's just like, I mean, Islam looks huge. Dude's a monster, and if he is able to get the takedowns going, I just don't think JDM's going to have much for him. So I I agree, man. I don't mind the sub look either. I think if Islam really is having success, he could find a sub here. I kind of want to have a JDM KO ticket.
Same, but I don't know. I just think Islam is just that good, man.
Yeah, it just feels like he could be one of those guys you just can't really bet against until.
That's what I think he's in the same category. Islam's in the same category as like Taporia, and Khabib, Taporia,
Yeah. So I mean, it would be cool to see Jack do it. I mean, it would be, I guess, kind of shocking, but so officially, I guess, we see both titles change hands, which we don't see often.
No.
But, we could see it here. So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, we're, pretty much in agreement on that fight. We think Islam probably gets it done, but, there's that outside chance that shot lands. But, we'll be live Saturday night for the fights. We got, NFL on Sunday. We got NFL on Thursday night. So the boys will be live for that. And, I mean, if you haven't signed up, head over to nukethehouse.com, sign up. And, tune into the live shows, catch some tickets with us, have some fun. And that's it. Johnny, if you got anything else, let us know. Otherwise, we'll get out of here.
No, that's it.
All right. All right, guys. So we will see you, probably tomorrow night for the football game, but we'll see you Saturday night for the fights. And good luck this weekend. We're out.
Laters.